In today's video, we will be looking at adding fractions with unlike denominators. This is going to involve finding an LCM and making fractions equivalent. Denominators are the numbers underneath the line in a fraction. In this case, 1 over 5 plus 2 over 5 equals 3 over 5. Each fraction contains the denominator of 5. In the first fraction, 1 over 5, we can see 1 out of 5 pieces of a circle, plus 2 over 5, we can see 2 out of 5 pieces in the circle, is equal to 3 pieces out of 5 in the circle. When we add fractions with like denominators, meaning they are the same, all we have to do is add the numerators and keep the same denominator. We can see that 1 out of 5 plus 2 out of 5 equals 3 out of 5. We do this because we are speaking about the same portion. We are speaking about the same size in each case. They are all fifths. So we have 1/5 plus 2/5 equals 3/5. However, when we try to add fractions with unlike denominators, we cannot add them the same way that we did when we had fractions with like denominators. And if we notice in these fractions, each denominator is different. We have 1 over 4 plus 3 over 8. The 4 and the 8 are different numbers, and therefore it is not so easy just to add the numerators and keep the denominator because we have two different numbers. In this case, we can see 1 over 4 is 1 out of 4 pieces, and 3 over 8 is 3 out of 8 pieces. We can clearly see that they are different sizes, and so it is difficult to simply add them together. We have to do something first to make the pieces of each one the same. And what we have to do is we have to list the multiples of each denominator. If we list the multiples of 4, we get 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. And if we list the multiples of 8, we get 8, 16, 24, 32. And we could continue on in the 4 and the 8 times tables if we needed to. What we now need to do is to find the common multiples. These are the multiples. And when we look at the common multiples, we see that in the 4 times tables and in the 8 times tables, the 8 and 16 are common. Now that we have determined what the common multiples are, 8 and 16, we are now going to find the lowest or the least common multiple. We have to decide which out of 8 and 16 is the smallest number. And we know that 8 is smaller than 16, so 8 becomes our LCM. We will use 8 as our LCM to now make these fractions equivalent into parts out of 8. And in order to do that, we have to figure out what we have to multiply 4 by to give us 8. In this case, we know 4 times 2 is 8. And whatever we do to the denominator, we have to do the same thing to the numerator to keep this fraction equivalent. 1 times 2 is 2, and so therefore 1 over 4 is equivalent to 2 out of 8. Now that we have converted 1 over 4 into eighths, we add that to 3/8, and now we have like fractions that we can add the numerators to give us 2/8 plus 3/8 is equal to 5/8. Now let's try a question using two fractions that have unlike denominators. We have 1/3 plus 1/2. In each case, you can see the quantity that represents 1/3 and 1/2 by looking at the shaded parts of the circle. You can see that they are both different sizes. 1/3 plus 1/2 is equal to what fraction? We can notice that 3 and 2, the denominators, are different numbers, and therefore this is a question involving unlike fractions, and we need to find an LCM. So we need to find the multiples of 3 and the multiples of 2, find the common ones, and then decide which one is the lowest. So if we list the multiples of 3, we get 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. And if we list the multiples of 2, we get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and so on. We can see that the numbers that are common in both are 6 and 12. By looking at the number that is the smallest or the lowest, we see that that is the number 6. So we determine that LCM is 6. Now we have to convert 1/3 and 1/2 into fractions out of 6. Here is our question, 1/3 plus 1/2. We'll now take 1/3, change it into a quantity that's out of 6. How can we get from 3 to 6 through multiplication? 3 times 2 is 6, and therefore 1 times 2 is 2. Therefore 1/3 has an equivalent of 2 over 6. We will now take 1/2 and convert that into a fraction out of 6. We know that 2 times 3 is 6, and so 1 times 3 is 3. Therefore, the equivalent of 1/2 is 3 over 6. Now we have like fractions that we can add numerators and keep the same denominator. 2/6 plus 3/6 equals 5/6.